Hey, what's up, you guys? I just wanted to have a small discussion about jazz and improvisation and just kind of pass on my philosophy. I think that one of the things I really believe in is recycling, right? So just simply playing the same concept over a different set of changes and seeing how that sounds and seeing how the flavor and taste sort of changes for the ear. Um, and one of the main things that I like to use for this method of recycling is what we call the diminished scale. And the great thing about the diminished scale is that there are really only three real diminished scales. Three, not two. This means for all 12 keys, you learn one diminished scale. You have learned something to do over 4 chords. So let's take a look at what a diminished scale is, how to build one, and how do we know which chords correspond to which diminished scales. What are the methods that we can use to attain this information? Alright, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about the diminished scale. What is it? How do we build it? How do we find out what chords correspond to which whatever? Okay, so let's start by building a diminished scale first. Let's pick any single tone. In this case, I'm going to pick C7. So it's a series of half steps and whole steps. So we're simply going to go first note, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step until first note is repeated. So C repeats to C, half step, whole step all the way through. Now how do we know what other 3 chords correspond to, in this case, C7th, correct? Well, we simply from C build a fully diminished 7th, and the way to build a fully diminished 7th chord is by counting a series of 3 half steps per notes, and there are a total of 4 notes. So let me show you what that means. First note, 1, 2, 3, second note, 1, 2, 3, third note, 1, 2, 3, fourth note. All of these notes are essentially the dominant chords that correspond to our newly found C diminished scale. Alright, so we basically have C 7th, E flat 7th, G flat 7th, A 7th, and all of these chords belong to these notes. In this case, we're referring to it as a C diminished scale because we're simply starting from C. If we wanted an E flat diminished scale, we would do all of those same notes, except we would start from E flat. Same thing with G flat. Still the exact same notes. And lastly, A 7th. Okay, so let's do that backwards. Let's go for another one. G 7th. Let's not build our scale first. Let's do that last. Let's find out first what corresponds to G 7th, or really what other 3 chords are connected to G 7th through the diminished scale. Once again, let's build our fully diminished 7th chord by counting a series of half steps. 1, 2, 3, second note, 1, 2, 3, third note, 1, 2, 3, fourth note. And all of these chords are going to be corresponding to our upcoming diminished scale. And they are G 7th, B flat 7th, D flat 7th, E 7th. Let's count half steps to build our scales now. Half step and whole step, remember that. Half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, until we repeat our first note. That's our G diminished scale. Exact same notes starting from B flat diminished. Exact same notes starting from D flat. Exact same notes starting from E. So basically, you learn 1, you learn 4 of them, guys. It's as good as it gets. So let's talk now about what are the ways that we can implement this particular scale over all of these 4 chords. There are so many different types of approaches, so let's talk about some of them. Let's go back to C7th. Okay. As we mentioned, C7th is also interconnected with C, E G flat, and A. All of these are dominants. However, if you make them minors on top of the C7th, A minor, E flat minor, G flat minor, or really F sharp minor. And lastly, also every single one of these minor chords bring out different extension tones, or chord extensions really. Well, let's take a look at it and see what I mean by that. C minor will bring out root, sharp 9, 5, and 7. Okay, A minor, 6, 1, 3, 5. E flat, that's the crunchiest one of them all. It's gonna be sharp 9, sharp 11, 7th, flat 9. G flat minor or F sharp minor, sharp 11, 6, flat 9, and the 3rd. Now, depending on what you choose to do with these chords, you know, you can build your own little patterns. For example, all I really did there was A minor combined with E flat minor, A minor combined with A flat minor, and resolve. And all I'm really doing, guys, is inverting. Invert, closest inversion from A minor to E flat minor, closest inversion going down, closest inversion going down, and resolve. Now you could do that exact same pattern. This is the beauty of the diminished scale, right? You could do that exact same pattern over 4 other chords, and you're basically maximizing the amount of language that you're learning. So it's like getting a lot of bang for your buck. So let's try that on E flat 7th. And we're simply, instead of resolving like we did on F, resolution to F, we resolve on the root. The beauty about this is that it's simply bringing out different tones, right? It all fits in. However, when we resolve to A flat major 7th, we resolve to its 6. So we're playing with chord extensions here, aside from just resolving to the 5 or the good old usual 3, right? E flat 7th. Let's try that on G flat. Oh, that's beautiful right there. And right there we're resolving to the sharp 11 of B flat. Excuse me, B major, not B flat. That's the beauty of that. It's really altery. Lydian, you know? Ooh. Okay, let's try it on the last one. A resolves to D major. Now, like we said, right, sometimes we may have to alter the last part of the lick to fit our resolving chord. If we did this, a major 7th does not have a sharp 9. Okay, well, let's see. That's interesting. So just resolving to the 9th. I could have resolved to the 1 as well. What are the 3? Let's try that. Not as interesting. I presume the 1 won't be either. It never is. It fits really nicely. I like the 9th though. It's really interesting. let's talk about another approach that I really like to use. Let's go once again back to our C7 diminished scale. Okay, I like to do scale runs, and I don't mean none of that. I literally mean things that you can do sort of in between, sort of at the end, maybe in the beginning if you're doing some rubato stuff, right? Well, if you see an example, anyways, aside from all of that, so now you saw how this kind of run, quote unquote, can be used. Well, how do I attain that run? Well, it's all built of, once again, minor chords on the right hand, and I'm thinking mainly on the left hand, the 1, the root, and the 7th of my corresponding 7th chords, right? In this case, I have E flat 7th. I'm gonna take the root, and I'm gonna take the 7th, and then I'm going to go a tritone apart to its tritone substitution, right? That's 6 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. From there, I'm going to build a minor chord on A minor, or A tone, A letter, whatever. Anyways, after that, I'm still not done though. I have to invert that twice. Okay, and now I have all of my tones that will repeat up every octave. Okay, now let's do that on another part of this scale. So let's say that we have our G flat 7th, right? Well, we have a root in our 7th, and then we're gonna go a tritone apart. That's 6 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Build a minor chord. Invert down twice. So it's basically the minor chord, guys. It's just gonna be on second inversion, right? Then move down an octave. Same thing as we go up. Let's go to, say, A7th, right? It's another chord that corresponds to this scale. My root, my 7th. Now I'm gonna go to its tritone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's gonna leave me with E flat minor. Gonna go down twice. Invert. And my last one, which is going to be C7th. That's gonna leave me with C. But let's start here. C7, C, my root, my 7th. And then I'm gonna go a tritone away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's gonna be F sharp minor or G flat minor. Invert down twice. I find for a piano player, depending on the chords and the wonky positions of the fingerings, some are easier to do than others. So like every single one that we just talked about, every single run can be utilized in every single one of those chords, correct? Because it's coming from the C diminished scale, or the diminished scale that corresponds to all those 4 chords. But I find that the chords that are inverted, the minor chords that are inverted, and the thumb happens to be on a black note, that's a harder situation to be in, as opposed to when minors are on white notes. Simply because if they're all in black notes and all in black and white notes, then that's fine, because there's a balance there. But if we're starting on a black note, or if we're starting on a white note, going to a black note, it's sort of wonky for my fingers. That's what I find out personally, but you may find it different. So let's go to our next method I actually like to use. Now, I got this one a long time ago from a teacher in college. It's basically taking all the triads of all of the 4 chords that correspond to the diminished scale. So for example, let's go back to C diminished once again. My 4 chords that once again correspond are C, E flat, G, and A. Now make all of those majors only. So on the right hand, we're going to have a major. We're going to invert twice, or 6/4 inversion. And on the left hand, we're going to have just the 9th. Well, this is up with E flat. Invert twice. And I have my flat 9. Let's do that once again. G flat, invert twice. And I have my flat 9. One more time. A major, invert twice, my flat 9. And you can move around with all of those, right? You can arpeggiate it. I like to use that a lot on endings or, rubatos once again. Let's take Have You Met Miss Jones, for example. Makes sense? Just a bit of context for you, but you may find that you can come up with something completely different. Anyways guys, I hope this video really helped. I hope it clarifies some concepts that you can actually utilize basically for the rest of your life outside of just the concept of diminished scale, right? Just know that you can always recycle certain things in ways that you don't expect. The diminished scale is just one of the most evident case scenarios, right? I hope you guys liked this video. Comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and maybe comment on what you think you want to learn next. Hope you guys like the video. Peace.